What's going on, everyone? So 2024 is winding down. In fact, I am filming this video on November 18th, 2024. So 2025 is right around the corner. And because of that, I figured I would do my top 10 most anticipated films of 2025. Now, in the past, I would give 5 honorable mentions that I would go from 10 to 1, with 1 being my most anticipated film of, insert year. This time around, I'm going to be doing that, but before doing that, I will be actually announcing 5 films that I am curious about. Not necessarily that we're so close to making my, most anticipated films of 2025 list, but ones that I am genuinely, again, curious about. And it goes without saying, but this list, it's going to be different from yours. And that's what's great about film as an art form, is that it is subjective. And at the same time, what's also amazing is that I want you guys to put your top 10 most anticipated of 2025 in the comment section down below. That way, maybe there's 1 or 2 films that I'm missing from your list and that now will be on my radar and that now I will be greatly anticipating. So I look forward to seeing your list in the comment section down below. And again, we'll go from the movies I'm curious about, 5 of them, to the 5 honorable mentions, and then from 10 to 1, with 1 being my most anticipated film of 2025. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So the first film that I'm curious about is The Monkey, which is directed by Oscar Perkins, the same director that did Gretel and Hansel, and of course, earlier this year, Longlegs. And he's a director that's 50-50. It could go either way. There's a couple of his films I'm not a big fan of, but those 2 films that I just mentioned, I do like, so I am curious about this film. The trailer, it seems okay. I did actually watch it, and it is coming out at the beginning of the year, but I'm still keeping an open mind. It is a horror film, and again, I do like the director, so fingers crossed, I hope it's good. Next one is the film Honey Don't, which is directed by Ethan Coen. I absolutely love the Coen brothers, but ever since the Coen brothers kind of parted ways in regards to collaborating, I felt it in their work. I do think that earlier this year, Drive Away Dolls, which made my list in regards to top 10 most anticipated of 2024, that film I did enjoy. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but it was a film that right away I was like, this is 100% not even going to be close to my top 10 films of 2024 list, unfortunately. And I don't know, the film Honey Don't, it sounds like an interesting premise, but at the same time, it could go either way. But again, I do like the Coen brothers, and I do think that Ethan Coen's talented, so here's hoping that it's good, but fingers crossed. Next up, we have, this is going to be a surprise for a lot of people, but next up we have The Naked Gun, which stars Liam Neeson. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a remake, and The Naked Gun with Leslie Nielsen is great. It's one of the best comedies of all time. I own it on Blu-ray. I think it's hilarious. And I know what some of you are thinking. Why would you be excited for this reimagination then? And the reason being is this. When you look at Leslie Nielsen's career, Airplane was pre-Airplane. He was known as someone that was like, hey, dramatic roles, he's not funny, he's just dramatic roles. And when you look at someone like Liam Neeson, before Taken, he was someone that was looked at as dramatic roles. And now, of course, when you think of Liam Neeson, it's action roles. So I think that we could see another part of Liam Neeson in terms of like, hey, he also is talented in regards to comedy as well. I think that a lot of people are underestimating Liam Neeson, and I do think that he will do a good job in this. Will the film as a whole be funny? Will it be good? I don't know, but that's why I'm saying keep an eye out for this film. It could potentially be good. Next honorable mention, we have another one that could be good, flip the coin, and that's 28 Years Later, which is directed by Danny Boyle. I really, really like 28 Days Later. I think it's a really good film. It's one of the best zombie films. 28 Weeks Later was okay to solidish, but it wasn't directed by Danny Boyle. I'm a huge Danny Boyle fan, so I'm going to keep an open mind because of the director. So let's see. Hopefully it's good. And the last film that I'm curious about, we have High and Low. This is another remake. It is directed by Spike Lee. It's a Spike Lee joint. And High and Low is a film that, yes, I have seen the original. I love it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I think it's fantastic. So I know what you're thinking. Why would you be excited for a remake then? And the reason is simple. I think Spike Lee is a director that is very talented. And I do think that the actual concept of High and Low is something that if you implement into American culture, black versus white, it's something that could potentially be just as riveting as, the original. Of course, I don't think it's going to be as amazing, but I do think that it could be a riveting story at the same time. And again, Spike Lee, I think, is a very talented director and writer. So let's see how this is. So those are the films that I'm curious about. Now let's get started with the honorable mentions. So honorable mentions, we have the film Presence, which is directed by Steven Soderbergh. Don't really know much about this film. I did see the trailer, and it does look quite good. And again, Steven Soderbergh is a director that I'm a huge fan of. And yeah, that's why it's on this list. And speaking of Steven Soderbergh, he has another film on this list that I'm very much looking forward to. Yes, that's right. We're going to get two Steven Soderbergh films from 2025, and that is the film Black Bag. I have no clue what this film is about, but at the same time, it's, again, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and I like him quite a bit, so I'm hoping that he goes 2 for 2. So those are the two honorable mentions from Steven Soderbergh. Next honorable mention, we have the film Sinners, which is a Ryan Coogler film. Yes, the same director that gave us Black Panther 2, Creed, Fruitvale Station. I really like the director. I think that he has yet to make a film where I was like, ooh, that wasn't good. Really like him. I've seen the trailer for this film, and I do think that it looks quite good, and it is shot on film, and I think it is also shot on IMAX, so I'm looking forward to it. Don't really know much about this film, but again, I'm sold on it's directed by Ryan Coogler, and Michael B. Jordan also is someone that I'm a huge fan of, so fingers crossed. And next up, we have The Smashing Machine, which is directed by Benny Safdie. This is a similar situation to Honey Don't, directed by Ethan Coen, in that I love the Safdie brothers. I think the Safdie brothers are incredible directors. Good Time, Uncut Gems, they did an incredible job working together. But we don't have both Safdie brothers directing The Smashing Machine. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. But at the same time, I think Benny Safdie is still nonetheless very talented. It is produced by A24, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is also starring in this film in an unrecognizable role. Like, I've seen the first photo of it, and he does not look like The Rock. So it's one of those films that I think will be quite good, and I am very much looking forward to. But again, the fact that it's not directed by both Safdie brothers is what gives me pause. But as a whole, I'm looking forward to this film quite a bit, and that's why it's an honorable mention. And the last honorable mention, the one that was so close to making my list, we have Avatar, Fire and Ash. This is directed by James Cameron, which that alone makes me quite excited. But the other thing is that the two Avatar films, I did finally see the first Avatar in theaters, and of course I saw the second Avatar twice in theaters. And the thing is this, I know the Avatar films are going to be great theater-going experiences, so of course I'm anticipating it, of course. And I think that what James Cameron did for water visual effects was incredible. It was groundbreaking, I would even say. So I'm very curious to see what he's going to do with fire effects with this third entry. I do hope that the villain's much better, because I do think that Stephen Lang's character is, shall we say, overdone at this point. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. But as a whole, I'm still looking forward to this film, and that's why it is an honorable mention. And now we get into the top 10, guys. So to kick things off, my number 10, we have, I think it's pronounced Bugani. This is a Yorgos Lanthimos film. That's all I know about this film. It's the same director that gave us Poor Things, The Favorite, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Lobster. I like this guy. I think that he is a really, really talented director, and I think it stars Emma Stone. I could be wrong about that, but either way, I am sold by the director. I am very much looking forward to this film, and that's why it's my number 10. Next up at number 9, we have the film Die, My Love. This is directed by Lynn Ramsey, the same director that did You Were Never Really Here. That's one of my favorite films of the 2010s, and of, honestly, all time. I think it's a fantastic film, so I'm very much still looking forward to see what she's going to do with this. I have no clue what this film's about, but again, I see the director's name, and I'm all in. So that's why I have it as my number 9. Next up, my number 8, we have Eddington, which is directed by Ari Aster, the same director that gave us Hereditary, Beau Was Afraid, Midsommar. It's a director that, even though his last two films I didn't love quite as much as Hereditary, I still nonetheless really appreciate the guy. And I think that it's very refreshing to hear, what he does, and, at the same time, what he gives to cinema. And Eddington, from what I understand, it's a Western. So I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do for the Western genre, honestly. So, and also it stars Joaquin Phoenix, one of my favorite actors. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Eddington, and that's why I have it as my number 8. Next up, at number 7, we have After the Hunt. This is directed by Luca Guadagnino, the same director that gave us Challengers, Call Me By Your Name, Suspiria, Bones and All. A very talented director, similar to Yorgos Lanthimos. He's one of those directors that has been producing films nonstop lately, and I'm all for it. I think he's a really good director. I don't know what this film's about. I really don't. But again, similar to a lot of these other films, I see the director, and I'm in. I'm sold. I don't need to know anything else. So it's my number 7. Next up, my number 6, we have Caught Stealing, which is directed by Darren Aronofsky, who might be a hot take, but I have yet to see a film of his that I did not like. I have consistently always thought that his films were from good to incredible. Requiem for a Dream in particular is one of my favorite films of all time. Caught Stealing, I know it stars Austin Butler, and from what I understand, it's about trading. I think it's about baseball card trading, which especially is something that intrigues me because I was someone that growing up traded baseball cards. So I'm very much so looking forward to this film. And again, the director, the actor, the premise, I'm in. I don't need to know anything else. So that's my number 6. Next up, my number 5, we have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Yes, del Toro is finally making Frankenstein. And the cast, his name, I'm in. I don't need to know anything else. I just know that it's going to be something that's refreshing. And at the same time, his style is something that I eat up. I think he is a great director. And that's why I have him as my number 5 for directing Frankenstein. Next up, my number 4, we have The Way of the Wind. This is directed by Terrence Malick, the director that did Tree of Life, The New World, Thin Red Line. Those are some of my favorite films of all time. And The Way of the Wind, from what I understand, it is following the life of Jesus. So the fact that it's also tackling religion is something that also has me mightily intrigued, because I think that the Tree of Life, he did dabble a little bit in regards to religion, and it was fascinating. So I'm very curious to see his poetic sensibilities tackling the life of Jesus. I'm very much so excited. I'm glad we're finally getting this film in 2025. And next up, we have my number 3, The Phoenician Scheme. This was directed by Wes Anderson, and similar to Darren Aronofsky, it might be a hot take, but Wes Anderson, in my eyes, has yet to make a bad film. The closest, in my eyes, that was was a bad film was The French Dispatch. But even then, I don't think it's a bad film. I just think it's solid, but it just doesn't quite have as much rewatchability value as all of his other films. Like even something like Asteroid City that I thought was just good on first viewing. It was one of those films I couldn't get out of my mind, and I kept rewatching. It's gotten better and better, and that's how a lot of his work is, where it gets better and better. And I have a lot of faith in Phoenician Scheme. I think that Wes Anderson's style, the cast, he always manages to get an ensemble cast. And I also just love all the people Wes Anderson works with behind the screen, too. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know what this is about. Based on the title, it sounds like it might be a heist film. I don't know. But I'm very much so looking forward to this film. That's why it's my number 3. Next up, my number 2. This film is bonkers. My number 2 is The Battle of Bacton Crossing, which is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And the reason why I say it's bonkers is because, yes, I know it's got an incredible cast, including Leonardo DiCaprio, but it's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And from what I understand, he's been given $200 million, which, to give you a frame of reference, he has always done like low to mid-budget films, and his entire filmography domestically in North America have probably made as much as $200 million. So this is like a swing for the fence from the studio that I don't think it will pay off financially, but I do think that critically, it will do quite well. And I think that Paul Thomas Anderson, again, he's a director that I don't think he's made a bad film. There have been a couple films of his that I thought were just solid, but most of his filmography is in my top 250 favorite films of all time. I think he's a fantastic director. So will this film be financially successful? I don't think so. Will this film be great? I think so. So I'm looking forward to this film, and it was so close to making my number 1, but alas, it was my number 2. And last but not least, my number 1. As soon as I heard about this film, I was like, yep, this is going to be taking the number 1 spot. My number 1 is the film No Other Choice, which, yes, when I saw the title, I was like, I don't know what this film is, but then I saw the premise and I saw who directed it, and I was like, hook, line, sinker, I'm in. It's directed by Park Chan-wook. Yes, the director that gave us such films as Decision to Leave, The Handmaiden, Old Boy, those 3 masterpieces. He's also done Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Lady Vengeance. I love the director. He is one of my favorite international filmmakers of all time, if not all time. Fantastic director. So I don't know when we're going to get this film in 2025, but I am definitely looking forward to this film coming out. So, yep, those were my films that I'm curious about. Honorable mentions of my top 10 anticipated films of 2025. Let me know what yours is, guys, in the comment section down below. And as always, I really appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget to join Patreon. Follow me on Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.